Hello everyone, welcome back to the course of Software Architecture and Design Patterns. This video is brought to you by Newton's Group of Institutions in association with Redefined Solutions. This is Arvind Egireddy from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, and in this video we will discuss about reconstructing software architecture. Introduction. So architecture reconstruction is an interpretive, interactive and iterative process involving many activities, and it is not automatic. It requires the skills and attention of both the reverse engineering expert and the architecture, largely because architectural constructions are not represented explicitly in the source code. There is no programming language construct for layers or connectors or other architectural elements that we can easily pick out of the source code file. So architectural patterns, if used, are seldom labeled. Instead, architectural constructs are realized by many diverse mechanisms in an implementation, usually a collection of functions, classes, files, objects, and so forth. When a system is initially developed in high-level design or architectural elements are mapped to implement those elements. Therefore, when we construct those elements, we need to apply the inverse of these mappings. So coming up with those required architectures inside. So here, familiarity with compiler construction techniques and utilities such as Grit, Seed, AWK, Perl, Python, and Lex, Yak is also very important. So here, architectural reconstruction has been used in variety of projects ranging from MRI scanners. So, to public telephone switches and from helicopter guidance systems to classified NASA systems, it has been used to redocument architectures for physical simulation systems. And these architectural reconnections has been used to understand the architectural dependencies in embedded control software for mining machinery, and they are used to evaluate the conformance of a satellite ground system implemented to its reference architecture, and they are used to understand the different systems in the automotive industry. Now coming to the workbench approach. So architecture reconstruction requires tools that support, but not single tool or tool set is always adequate to carry it out. For one thing, tools tend to be language specific, and we may encounter any number of languages in the artifact we examine. For example, if you take a matured MRI scanner, for example, can contain softwares written in 15 languages. For another thing, data execution tools are imperfect. They often return incomplete results or false positive. And so we use a selection of tools to augment and check to each other. Finally, the goal of reconstructions vary as discussed. So what we wish to do with the recovered documentation will determine what information we need to extract, which in turn will suggest the different tools. So taking together, these have led to a particular design philosophy for the tools that set to support the architecture reconstruction, which is known as workbench. So we can say a workbench should be an open and provide a lightweight integration framework whereby the tools added to the toolset do not affect the existing tools or the data which is unnecessarily. Now coming to the reconstruction activities. So here software architecture reconstruction comprises of the following activities which are carried out iteratively. First one is information extraction. So the purpose of this activity is to extract information from the various sources. Second one is database construction. Here, database construction involves converting this information into a standard form such as a Riggy standard form, which is a tuple-based data format in the form of relationship entity-entity, and an SQL-based database format, which is a database is created. And the third one is view function. Here, the view function combines information in the database to produce a coherent view of the architecture. And the fourth one is reconstruction. So a reconstruction activity is where the main work of building abstractions and various representations of the data to generate an architecture representation takes place. Now let us see the reconstruction activity. As we might expect, the activities are highly iterative. This particular figure depicts the architecture reconstruction activities and how the information flows among them. So here the reconstruction process needs to have a several people involved. So these include the person doing the reconstruction and one or more individuals who are familiar with the system being reconstructed. So here they can be architects or they can be software engineers. So the reconstructor extracts the information from the system and either manually or with the use of tools that abstract the architecture from it. So here the architecture is obtained by the reconstruction through a set of hypotheses about the system. So these hypotheses reflect the inverse mapping from the source artifact to the design. So they are tested by generating the inverse mapping and apply them to the extracted information and validating the result. So to most effective generating, these hypotheses are validated them and people familiar with the system must be involved, including the system architects or engineers who have worked on it. So in the following section, the various activities of architecture reconstructions are outlined in more detail along with some guidelines for each. So most of these guidelines are not specific to the use of particular workbench and would be applicable even if the architecture reconstruction was carried out normally. Now coming to information extraction. Here, information extraction involves analyzing a system which is existing and design and implementation artifacts to construct the model of it. So the result is a set of information placed in the database, which is viewed in the view for function activity to construct the view of the system. And here the information extraction is a blend of the ideal. So here what information do we want to discover about the architecture that will most help us to meet the goals of our reconstruction effort and the practical. So what information can our available tools actually extract and present from the source artifacts, example code, header files, build files, and other artifacts, example execution traces, and we can identify and capture these elements of interest within the system, example files, functions, and variables, and their relationships to obtain several base system views. Now here in this particular table 10.1, which shows a typical list of the elements and several relationships among them that might be extracted. So here, each of the relation between the elements gives a different information about the system. So here, the call relationship between the function helps us to build the call graph. The include relationship between the files give us a set of dependencies between the system files. The access read and access write relationship between the functions are variables which show us how the data is used, and certain functions may write a set of data and others may read it. So this information is used to determine how the data is passed between the various parts of the system. So here we can determine whether or not a global data store is used or whether most information is passed through function calls. So if the system is being analyzed in large capturing we need to understand how the source files are stored within the directory structure, which may be important to the reconstruction process. And here, certain elements or subsystems may be stored in a particular directories, and capturing the relationships such as dir contains files and dir contains a dir, which is an useful when trying to identify the elements later. So the set of elements and relations extracted will depend on the type of the system being analyzed and the extraction support tools that are available. Suppose if the system to be reconstructed is object oriented, classes and methods are added to the list of elements to be extracted, and the relationship such as class is a subclass of class, and class contains methods are extracted and they are being used. Now, to extract the information, a variety of tools are used, which includes these things. So here, parser, abstract analyzers, lexical analyzers, profilers, code instruction tools, ad hoc, so on. So here, the parsers analyze the code and generate the internal representation from it for the purpose of generating the machine code. Typically, however, it is possible to save the internal representation to obtain a view. Whereas coming to AST analyzers, they do a similar job, but they built an explicit tree representation of the parsed information. So we can build analysis tools that traverse the AST and output selected pieces of architecture which are relevant information in an appropriate format. Lexical analyzers, they examine the source artifact purely as strings or lexical elements or tokens. So the use of lexical analyzer can specify a set of code patterns to be matched and output. Similarly, a collection of ad hoc tools such as Greep and Perl can carry out patterns matching and searching within the code to output some required information. So here, all these tools, code generation parser, AST based analyzers, lexical analyzers, and ad hoc pattern matches. So these are all used to output the static information. Now, coming to here, profiling and code converging analysis tools can be used to output the information about the code as it is being executed, and usually do not involve adding new code to the system. So on the other hand, code instructions which has wide applicability in the field of testing, which involves adding code to the system to output the specific information while the system is executing. So these tools generate dynamic system views. Here the tools to analyze design models, build files, make files and executables can also be used to extract the further information as required. For instance, build files and make files include information on module or file dependencies that exist within the system and may not be reflected in the source code. Whereas much architecture related information may be extracted statically from the source code, compile time artifacts and design artifacts. So here some architecturally relevant information however may not exist in the source artifacts because of the late binding. Now, the examples of late binding include the polymorphism, function pointers, and runtime parameters. So, the precise topology of the system may not be determined until the runtime. For example, multi-process and multi-processor systems using middleware such as J2EE or Ginny or .NET frequently establish their topology dynamically depending on the availability of the system resource. So here the topology of such systems does not live in its source artifact and hence cannot be reverse engineered using the extraction tools. For this reason, it may be necessary to use the tools that can generate dynamic information about the system. Of course, this requires that the such tools which are being available on the platform on which the system executes. Also, it may be difficult to collect the results from the code instrumentation. So here embedded systems often have no way to output such information. Now coming to the database construction. Here the extracted information is converted into the standard format for storage in a database during the database construction, and it is necessary to choose the database model. So when doing this, we need to consider the following things. That is, it should be a well-known model to make a replacing one database implementation with an other relatively simple, and it should allow for efficient queries, which is important given that the source models can be quite large, and it should support remote access to the database from one or more geographically distributed user interfaces. It supports view fusion by combining the information from various tables. It supports query sorry It supports view fusion by combining information from the various tables, and it supports query languages that can express the architectural patterns. So here the checkpoint should be supported by implementing, which means that immediate results can be saved. So this is important in an iterative or interactive process. So in that it gives the user the freedom to explore with the comfort that changes can always be undone. So here, the daily workbench, for example, uses a relational database model. It converts the extracted views, which may be in many different formats depending on the tools used to extract them, into a Riggy standard form. Now, this format is then read in by Perl script, and the output in a format that includes the necessary SQL code to build the relational tables and populate them with an extracted information. So here, this figure 10.2 gives an outline for the process. So an example of generated SQL code to build a populated relational tables is shown in 10.3 example. So when the data is entered into the database, two additional tables are generated. One is elements and the other one is relationships. So here these lists the extracted elements and relationships respectively. Here, the workbench approach makes it possible to adopt new tools and techniques other than those currently available to create out the conversion from whatever the formats and extraction tool uses. For example, if a tool is required to handle a new language, it can be built and its output can be converted into the workbench format. In the current version of the daily workbench, the Postgres relation database, which provides the functionality through the use of the SQL and Perl for generating and manipulating the architectural views. Here, the changes can easily be made to the SQL script to make them compatible with other SQL implementations. The example is here. You can see the example: create table calls within the arguments caller text, callee text. Similarly, create table access, function text, variable text, create table, define underscore where, arguments, file text, variable text, so on. Insert into call values within the arguments main control, insert into call values main clock, and insert into access values main start one as arguments. Now coming to the view fusion. So here the view fusion involves defining and manipulating the extracted information to reconcile and augment the established connection between the elements. So here different forms of extraction should provide the complementary information, and fusion is the illustrated using the examples given in this particular session. So here the first one is improving a view. So here we need to consider the two experts shown in this particular figure 10.4, which are from the set of methods, each shown preceded by the respective class extracted from the system implementation in C++. So these tables include the static and dynamic information about the object-oriented segment of the code. We can see from the dynamic information that, for example, list get nth is called. So however, this method is not included in the static analysis because the static extractor tool missed it. Also, the call of the constructor and destructor methods of the input value and list are not included in the static information and needed to be added to the class or method table that reconciles both source of information. So, in addition, the static extraction in this example shows that the primitive OP class, which has a method called compute. Here, the dynamic extraction result shows no such classes, but they do show classes such as arithmetic OP, attach OP, and string OP, each of which has a compute method and is in fact a subclass of primitive OP. So here primitive OP is purely a superclass and so never actually called in an executing program. But it is the call of primitive OP that a static extractor sees when scanning the source code. Since the polymorphic call of one of the OPF primitive OP's subclass occurs in the runtime. So to get an accurate view of the architecture, we need to reconcile the primitive OP static and dynamic information. To do this, we perform the fusion using SQL queries over the extracted calls or actually calls and has subclass relations. So in this way, we can see that the calls to compute and to its various subclasses and are really the same thing. So the list in this figure, uh, what we are going to see in the 10.45, which shows the items which are to be added to the fused view. So in addition to the methods that the static and dynamic information agreed upon and those removed from it through including either the static or dynamic information. That picture we will see in the next slide. Now coming to disambiguating the function calls. So here in a multi-process application, name clashes are likely to occur. For example, several processes might have a procedure called name. So it is important that these clashes be identified and disambiguated within the extracted views. Once again, by fusing the information that can be easily extracted, we can remove this potential ambiguity. So in this case, we need to fuse the static calls tables with a file or function which is containing table to determine which functions are being defined in which source file and a built dependency table to determine which files are compiled to produce which executables. So here the function of these information sources allow the potentially ambiguous procedures or method names to be made unique and hence unambiguously referred to it in the architecture reconstruction process. So without the view fusion, this ambiguity would persist into an architectural reconstruction. Now coming to the reconstruction, here at this point the view information has been extracted, stored and refined or augmented to improve the quality. So here the reconstruction operation on views to reveal the broad cross-grained insight into the architecture. So here reconstruction consists of two primary activities. One is visualization and interaction and pattern definition and recognition. So each is discussed in the latter stages. So here Visualization and interaction provides a mechanism by which the user may iteratively visualize, explore, and manipulate the views. So in DALL-E, views are presented to the user as a hierarchically decomposed graph of the elements and relations. So using the Riggy tool, an example of the architecture view is shown in this particular figure. Thanks for watching this video. That's all for now. Thank you all. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon for the latest notifications. Thank you all.